Hey everyone, welcome to the show. All right, so today we have a very special guest, my friend and fellow reptile enthusiast, Adam Shimer. I've known Adam here for a few years. We've done some reptile dealings back and forth over the years, and just kind of got to know each other through that and just through the reptile industry. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Adam. Hey, how's it going,
Howdy.
Adam?
Good.
Okay, so obviously the title of the episode, you're a state trooper.
I
That's
am.
super awesome. And cops
Yeah.
can love animals too.
Yes.
Okay, so let's hear your background and what got you into animals, I guess. Let's start there.
Yeah. So I've always been into animals. Just a little bit about myself. So I'm at the University of Washington after high school. I have a degree in aquatic fishery sciences, which is kind of a mixture of marine biology and statistics. I also got a minor in oceanography while I was there. After that, I wanted to continue working with animals, so I joined the Oregon State Police with the goal of becoming a fish and wildlife trooper, which worked out, and it's been 16 years of doing that. With reptiles, I think it all started probably when I was about 5 years old. My parents got me a red-eared slider. Of course, none of us had any idea what we were doing other than, well, a turtle sounds cool. But despite not knowing what we're doing, that thing lived for decades. And then, yeah, just slowly over the years got more and more interested in it. When I started having kids of my own, that's kind of when I really started getting more into it and wanting a true reptile room.
That's amazing. I've seen your room too. And okay, so for anybody that hasn't seen your room, can you explain it a little bit? And you've had a few
Yeah, so
rooms over the years.
we bought some land out here in Madras. One of my goals when doing that was kind of building my dream house. And I always knew I wanted a reptile room. Well, my wife didn't want it in the house. So we got a shop. And then within the shop, I divided that up and actually have a full room. It nothing but reptiles. The whole room just dedicated to reptiles. Concrete floor. I have water plumbed in. It is built for reptiles.
That's amazing. And what kind of cages do you have in there?
So everything that's in there, I made myself. Kind of gone through several evolutions of types of cages and messing with different materials, and I think I've got it down pretty good now. But definitely a lot of trial and error building cages, and it's you know dealing with heat and humidity and glass versus plexiglass, all that stuff. I've learned a lot.
And what kind of animals do you keep in there?
Okay, so let me go through the list. We've got I'll try to go biggest to smallest. So I've got I believe we're pretty confident it's a female black throat monitor. She's about 3 years old now, and we're guessing it's a she. She doesn't have a very obvious the big nose that the males get, and she's kind of maxing out at about the 4 foot, 5 foot mark right now. She's not really getting a lot bigger. Then I've got a red tegu who's also about 3 years old. He's big, fat, and happy. Two black and white tegus that I got from Mark, a male and a female, that my children named Toad and Peaches. I've got a pair of Accu monitors. We've got a leopard tortoise, leopard gecko, and then the only snake we have is a boa constrictor. And then our two newest additions are a caiman lizard and a water monitor from Zimbabwe. I think I'm pronouncing the island right.
That's amazing. And I got a water monitor from you, so you already know all about water monitors.
Yes, yes. And
What
now, yeah, I'm excited to really get a big cage going for that one too. We got some big plans for him.
nice. What made you get the Cayman lizard?
Always wanted a caiman lizard. That was definitely a bucket list animal. I think Underground Reptiles had him on sale one day, so I just did it, and he got here, and he's definitely skittish, but he's growing.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And you have a pretty big leopard tortoise.
Yeah, he's 10, 11 years old now, and we got him. I got him as a baby. He was about the size of a golf ball when we got him. Now he's about the size of a football.
That's so cool. And your kids, do they help you? Are they into it at all? Or I know they're a little
Yeah,
younger.
so that really, when my daughter was born, she's my oldest. She's 9, so I had the leopard tortoise. And then as she got older and older, she really got into the reptiles. And so did my son, who's 7, and now my 2-year-old's also super into it. So they definitely have I've expanded the collection because they're so into it, and they help me build the cages, they help me take care of them, they help me get food for them and everything.
That's awesome. What are some ways you get food for them?
So with the carnivorous creatures, I would say 99% of what they eat is stuff that we either catch ourselves or hunt ourselves, either on the property or out in the lakes out here.
That's
So
so cool.
we really
What?
try to target any of the invasive species of fish. So crappie, bluegill, bass, we catch a ton of those. On the property here, we've got rabbits everywhere, so we shoot a lot of rabbits for them as well. But yeah, that probably covers almost all of their food. Every now and then during the winter, I might have to run to the store and get some chicken parts, but that's pretty rare.
That's amazing. And during the winter, a lot of your animals brumate, yeah?
Yeah, the tegus would, but not the water monitor or not the monitor lizards.
Nice. Yeah, I remember
And
I
we
went over
also
there
have
and your leopard tortoise was.
yeah, and we also have a pretty large cockroach colony going right now as well to help.
What? Nice. Just dubia roaches?
Yep, and then we've got I remember the species that you brought us, some of those males.
The death heads?
Yeah,
Or
the
the
big
hybrids?
ones.
The
Yeah,
hybrids.
and
Yeah.
that has totally taken over not taken over the colony, but there's quite a few of them now within the colony, so that's pretty cool to see.
Oh, that's so awesome. I still have my original colony too, so they're going.
Yeah,
I think
this
it's like seven
colony
years
is
strong.
4 or 5 years old, and I've never added to it other than the few you brought over. And yeah, there's more than I know what to do with now.
That's so awesome. What are some animal stories you have? Let's start job related, I guess, first, and then we'll go personal.
Yeah, for reptiles, I've got a couple of good ones. When I was a young troop, I was probably 25, 26 years old. Got a call that somebody had an alligator in their living room, which we get all kinds of bogus calls all the time. You know, there's a cougar in my tree. You get there and it's just somebody's pet cat. There's a wolf in our yard. It's somebody's dog. But sure enough, we go and this guy's got an alligator in his living room. And he was a nice enough guy. It was a good learning experience because in Oregon, they're considered exotic pets. You just can't have any of the crocodilians at all as pets in Oregon. This wasn't something where we're writing him a ticket or getting him in any trouble. He can't have it. He had bought it online, I think, for like $80 when it was a baby, and now this thing's like 3 or 4 feet long. It's living in a horse trough in his living room in a trailer park. He was overwhelmed, didn't know what to do with it. So we found it a good home, somebody that had a proper permit. But yeah, it was fun dealing with that. Another big highlight would be another instance where I thought it was kind of a BS call. Somebody said they found a snapping turtle in the Columbia River. Like, no, it's going to be a red-eared slider. It's going to be something else. And sure enough, it was probably a 10-pound, 15-pound, huge female snapping turtle.
Oh my god.
So yeah, we come across some weird critters every now and then.
Is that the one that I put your thumbnail on? When I sent you
Yes.
the picture of your
Yes.
thumbnail, that was just
Yep.
okay.
That's the day that I caught that. So that is on the Columbia River, just
Oh my
outside of Rainier,
gosh.
Oregon.
How do you think it got there?
Somebody's pet. It had to have been.
That's crazy.
So
Yeah, because they
talking with
wouldn't survive.
ODFW, they actually say that there's a breeding population of snapping turtles in Oregon now.
Of course it would survive.
Yeah, which actually, because everybody thinks of them as kind of a southern species, but I believe they go all the way up to like Maine on the East Coast, so they can definitely handle the temperatures out here.
That's crazy. I didn't even realize. So we have invasive red-eared sliders here now,
Yeah,
snapping turtles.
yeah. The common snapping turtle.
That's crazy. Is there any other ones that you know of that the public
Oh, I'm
doesn't really
sure
know
there's
about?
other turtle species. I'm not
I
aware
mean,
of
just
any
like
others,
any
but
animal, I guess, or any
yeah,
reptile or
I would imagine a lot of the terrapin turtles could probably survive in Oregon.
that's crazy. That's insane. So you got an alligator call, a snapping turtle call, any other calls that were
No, every
out of
now
the
and then we'll
ordinary?
get calls that'll be like our drug team's going to a house and they've got a bunch of boas and iguanas and stuff, and they call us like, "What do we do?" And just don't open the cage and you'll be fine. So
And so with your job and everything, do a lot of your coworkers or friends call you about animal related problems?
yeah, I
Whether it's
mean,
with the job or personal, I mean, like
yeah,
you big
yeah.
animal guy?
So I mean, we get when you talk about animal calls, when deer, elk, that kind of stuff. The fish and wildlife troopers know what to do. But yeah, every now and then I'll get a call of the exotic animals, as they call them, as what is this? And most of the time it's a ball python or bearded dragon, something super common. Like, don't worry about it. It's not going to hurt you. It's fine. That's probably the most common call I get.
That's crazy. That's so cool, though. That's really cool. You can educate them, though, especially being a reptile enthusiast.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It is very cool having a job that overlaps into that.
That's amazing. And you worked really hard for that. You were saying you wanted to become what you are now.
Yes. Yeah. And I actually just became a supervisor within the Fish and Wildlife Division. So yeah,
What?
but it's been a lot of work, but it's been an excellent career.
How cool. And if somebody wanted to kind of get in that career, what are the steps they'd have to do?
So I would advise join Oregon State, go to the Oregon State Police website. All the questions on there about recruiting. You do not need to have a college degree. You do not need military. Those, obviously are nice to have, but those are not requirements. So everything would be listed on there. I think we've got somewhere around 100 fish and wildlife troopers in the state. So compared to the 600 patrol troopers, so they are harder spots to get. But yeah, it's definitely a doable career. It's people think of it like, oh, I would love to do that, and too bad I can't. Like, well, why not? Try.
That's crazy. That's so cool, though. Huh. I didn't even know all of those. You didn't need any like college or any stuff. That's pretty
Nope.
cool. And you get all that training just and everything on
Yeah,
the
and
job.
I teach at the academy quite a bit now, and yeah, they get really good training down there. And I was just down there a couple of days ago. We're working with tasers, so yeah, we get all kinds of excellent training there.
And have you've been tasered before, correct?
No,
Do
we
you have
do
to?
not tase
No,
each other. No,
you don't have to do that. It's not like where you see
no.
on Facebook.
Although it would be entertaining, there's not a whole lot to learn from that.
I couldn't imagine. I don't even.
We've
I
been
couldn't
pepper
imagine.
spray. That sucked enough.
You got pepper sprayed? That's
Yes, at the
crazy.
academy.
I couldn't even imagine that. That's insane. Okay, so now back to animals. Now, what are some awesome like personal experience you have like non-job related with animals? Like any
For
cool encounters?
me, I mean, really, it's the kid. If it wasn't for my kids, I'd probably have a lizard or two. But they love learning about different species. I mean, they love going on YouTube and just watching animal shows. I think Clint Reptiles is probably their favorite. They
Yeah, I
really
love
like
that one.
him. Just they just love learning about different animals. We go to a lot of the reptile shows. Of course, can we have that? Can we have that? Can we have that? No. One thing I would explain to them is if we're going to get a new animal, we're going to do lots of research. We're going to make sure we got space for it. We're going to make sure we can feed it. We're going to make sure it's something we really want because it's going to be around for, 10, 15, 20 years. This isn't just something like, oh, that looks cool. Let's grab one. So I'm really trying to educate them on that part of it. Last year, I went to their school. They brought out both of their classes, and I was able to do a presentation with a couple of the bigger lizards and the tortoise. They thought that was super cool. And then, like I said, just having them help me build the cages. They're learning about carpentry, and then going out and we take our canoe out on Lake Billy Chinook, and we'll catch 70, 80. I think our most ever was just over 100 bass in one day. It's unlimited out there because they're an invasive species. We got a couple other places where we're going to catch crappie, and I just think it's so much fun just to fill a bucket up with fish. We come back, we put them on freezer bags, and then feed the lizards throughout the year. So just being able to share that with my kids is probably my favorite part about the hobby.
That's so cool. That's crazy. You must have do you have a bunch of freezers you just stock food with?
Funny, we just got a new freezer 2 days ago. So, yes, I ran into the problem this last year where we fished so much that we filled up the freezer. I'm like, oh, that'll last us the year. And then by early spring, we started running out of food. And so I was like, well, we need another freezer and we need to go fishing and hunting more, which is fine by me. So I got two chest freezers out there that'll last us for the year now.
That's awesome. And do your kids help you like get like rabbits and stuff on the property and
Oh yeah, yeah. They're all about it. They're not quite old enough to be shooting yet, but we'll drive around on the side by side. Oh, there's a rabbit, and we'll stop and shoot it, and come back, and I'll show them how to skin it and freeze it. And yeah, they definitely enjoy that.
that's amazing. And I remember out there you have like what 90 acres, I think,
Yep.
something like that. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
can
90
you tell
acres in
us
Central Oregon.
can you tell us a little bit about the red hawks that were on your property, the red tail hawks? I remember
Yeah.
that
So we've got a
specifically.
nesting pair of red-tailed hawks that just had their chicks. Every year they have a couple chicks. So it's what, I don't know, 50 yards from my house. So it was fun this year. I think that both of their chicks survived because there was four of them in that tree just the other day, just screeching and hollering, and they're dive bombing each other, playing around. But I mean, we get bald eagles every year that come in during the winter usually, and they usually steal a couple rabbits. We got a couple owls, and then of course we've seen deer, elk, badgers, coyotes, foxes, all kinds of different rodents on the property. So yeah, we get a lot of here. It's pretty cool.
That's amazing. And you try to keep it all natural over there. You don't have cattle or anything, right?
No, it is an old cattle farm that we bought. About half of it was cattle, and the other half they had like 40 something horses out there. So we have there's a second house on the property. The renter's got one horse now and a goat. But outside of that, we're just letting everything grow back. We're trying to plant native plants and remove invasive species, which has been a lot of work with that much land. But yeah, our goal is to just have it come back all natural.
That's amazing. What are some invasive plant species you're trying to get rid of?
It's called cheatgrass. That stuff's nasty. It grows everywhere. There's a little what they call goat heads that are nasty, all that stuff. So every spring, go out there and try and knock them all down while they're still small. And like I said, we're trying to bring back some pine trees because it's a lot of it's just sagebrush and juniper trees right now. But I mean, already we're noticing way more animals than there were before. We tons of birds, lots of quail. So it is pretty cool just seeing these animals coming in and watching them interact.
That's amazing. And then your property, there's a lot of people don't realize like Central Oregon, we have a lot of like sagebrush. So it's all
Yes.
kind of like chest level, I would say.
Yeah,
Waist level, chest
that's
level.
what most of it. We've got a canal that comes through the property, and so there's a lot more trees and green around that. But yeah, we kind of have what we call our upper loop and lower loop, and then down by the canals, there's kind of like three different little ecosystems on the property. You haven't seen it yet, but our neighbor who owns tons of acreage, we discovered he had a drainage ditch. It's a pond, probably about the size of a normal house, and we started seeing frogs in there and say, hey, it's okay if the kids catch frogs in there. He's like, I don't care. And then we started noticing fish in there. And it's okay if the kids catch fish in there. I don't care. And this is when we hop on the side by side, this is like a 2-minute ride. And so we've got this pond that's just stacked full of crappie, bluegill, and bullfrogs. And so that's been another source of food for us. But yeah, the kids just on a random night, can we go fishing? I'm like, sure. And they come back with a bucket full of fish.
I love bullfrogs. Bullfrogs are a great feeder source.
Yes.
And they're
Yes.
super invasive.
Yes, yeah. Oh, gosh, there was 2 years ago. I mean, there had to have been thousands of those things in this tiny pond and huge tadpoles, and the kids just netting them up. And yeah, same thing. Like, well, they're invasive. We don't need them. So,
That's crazy. What other kind of reptiles do you see on your property?
so let's see. We've seen the little what are they called? Emerald Swiss with the blue bellies.
Okay.
Those are everywhere, and those we've got concrete all the way around the house, and so those are constantly running around on our walkway. Lots of bull snakes, lots of racers. Saw our first rubber boa this
What?
year. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Garter snakes. Never seen a rattlesnake. I'm sure they're out here. We just never seen one though.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so the kids like to go out and catch snakes and look for scorpions. And I've always told them if you see a rattlesnake, you'll know it. Just don't get near it, and you'll be fine.
You'll know. Are there lots of scorpions out there?
There are. We've got there's a south facing hill that we have, and when it's warm out, if you flip over a rock, there's a scorpion almost under every rock. So the kids
Oh,
have learned that. Our other neighbor got them a black light, so they go out at night and they'll see them with that too.
how cool. Do you ever find them in your house or anything?
Haven't done that well, other than the ones they caught and brought back and didn't tell us. No.
That's awesome. Wow. All right. And then so with you and your job duties and everything, does it ever like require you to be away from the house for like an extended period of time? And if it does, how do you take care of your animals while you're gone?
So yeah, I'm gone. Periodically I'll be gone for a week or so. Or mostly is when we'll go camping and stuff. I've got a neighbor who comes and feeds our dogs. Excuse me. I always ask them to just check on the reptiles, make sure they have water, make sure the temperature's good. But really, that's about it. I mean, any of those animals can go to a week without food and they're fine.
That's awesome. And you have big old cages, you have automated pretty much everything, yeah?
Yeah, it's all the
Timers
lights
and
are all automated and everything. During the super hot parts of the summer, I go out there pretty regularly to check on the temperatures. I open windows, open doors, turn off lights, and then during the winter, we will get down into the single digits. So I'm out there with space heaters, just trying to make sure everything stays nice and warm. But for the most part, it's pretty well insulated. And yeah, it's been 3 or 4 years now with that setup, and we haven't had any temperature related issues at all.
That's awesome. And you're in Madras, so you have extreme like heat spikes and cold spikes too.
Yeah, it was in the 90s today.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, I'm ready for summer to be over.
And sometimes it gets in the negative degrees over there.
It did, yeah, yeah. We've had a couple days over the last few years. It's gotten that cold. So generally during the winter, it's kind of in the teens and 20s is about as cold as we'll get. But again, on those days, I'll see the forecast, grab an extra space heater, make sure they're okay. Check them right before I go to bed. Check them right first thing in the morning.
That's crazy. That's insane. So I have a really weird question. Have you, since like with your job and you're driving around a lot, do you ever see like what are some crazy wildlife scenarios you've seen? Like have you had like an elk jump over your car before and clear it? Like I,
Let's see. Yes, I've had weird things. I'm trying to think of any now. This isn't work related, but so I run a lot.
okay.
And years ago, I was out on a run trail. It's behind a gate. It's where I usually go. I got my headphones in. I'm just jamming, going for a run. And I remember my mind thinking, like, why is there a big black rock in the middle of the road? And I just kept running without thinking about why there's a big black rock that I've never seen before. All of a sudden, this black bear, which had to have been damn near as tall as me, stands up and just starts puffing at me. Poof, poof, poof. And I'm standing probably 10, 15 feet away from him. Everything that I've ever learned about what to do when you see a bear goes out of my mind. I turn around, just sprint in the opposite direction and didn't look back. That's probably one of the coolest wildlife interactions I've had. We do a lot of just kind of like sitting in the brush and watching people. We've got a spot we watch out on Billy Chinook where people are trying to poach bull trout. And so I'll sit out there for hours sometimes. And it's, watch the bald eagles dive down and grab fish. And, you'll see snakes slither around and you're sitting still enough and deer will come right up to you and not know you're there. It's just kind of cool being out in nature, just sitting there and watching sometimes.
That's so cool. So you're talking about bull trout. You have bull trout over there?
Oh yeah, Billy Chinook. Yeah, it's one of the few places on the
Huh.
West Coast that you can legally harvest bull trout, and they get huge.
That's crazy. I always just thought they were like a super cold water fish.
No, well, Billy Chinook's really deep,
Oh, that makes
and
sense.
then they'll hang out in the Metolius arm of Billy Chinook, and the Metolius is fed by Mount Jefferson, so almost all the Metolius River is snow melt off, so it is very cold.
That's crazy. And people are just out there poaching trout.
And
Just
they'll try, yeah. Like I said, there is an opening season, but they'll get into the what we call the sanctuary in there and try to get them as well.
that's crazy. So like I've watched different I don't know like state police wildlife like documentaries and like the stuff you see on
Yep,
Animal Planet and stuff.
yep.
That's kind of the stuff you do too. Like
That's what we do. Yeah, we do decoys. We sit in the brush. We watch people. We get tips that somebody's poaching, and we'll get an unmarked vehicle and follow them around, see what they're up to. Yeah, we do all that stuff.
that's crazy. And that's I bet that keeps you just busy as ever.
It is. It's a busy job, but it's a really fun job and it's rewarding.
Oh, I bet, especially protecting all the wildlife. And
Yep.
I mean, I bet you hear some horror stories. That's crazy. That's insane. And then you're an avid hunter as well, right? You're just
I
kind of
uh,
around.
I would say I'm definitely more of a fisherman than a hunter. I'm not a very
Okay.
successful hunter, but I like again just being out there and being active. And yeah, I've shot a few deer. I actually the last deer I got was on my property a couple of years ago, so that was a kind of a cool opportunity to be able to do that.
That's so
Uh,
awesome. You just went outside and were just like deer.
yeah, I had trail cameras up, but there was another cool example of I harvested that deer. We got all the meat for ourselves, but like all the organs, all the scraps of meat and stuff, all of it went in the freezer for the reptiles afterwards.
How cool. Did you use
So
the hide or anything for anything or just
no, not the hide. So when I get like hides or if I pick up road trucks, I usually hang them from a tree on we call it the coyote tree, and I'll set up trail cameras so we can watch the coyotes come in and rip them up. That's pretty fun too.
that's awesome. Isn't there like a slaughterhouse or something right by you or
Yeah, they harvest pigs not too far from us and cattle. So yeah, we'll constantly find legs and heads all over our property that the coyotes drag out there.
that's crazy. It's like a murder scene.
Yes,
So
yeah.
you
The
have
first
lots
few
of
times I
predators.
was wondering where all that was coming from.
And you have lots of predators. Have you ever seen cougars or
Never see.
anything out
Well,
there?
I think I saw a cougar once in a while run across the road, but I couldn't say I've never like locked on like, oh, that's a cougar. That is definitely a goal of mine is to see a wild cougar and to see a wolf in the wild.
That's crazy. So before you had that house in Madras, I met you and you had a house in Redmond and you
Yes.
had a reptile basement, I believe it was in there.
Yeah, so it was almost a full sub basement. So it was like concrete walls, and it was funny. I think they were using it as a, what do you call it, a winery or wherever you put wine in a house.
Wine cellar.
A wine cellar, there you go, because it was constant temperature down there. And when I bought the place, wow, this would make a great reptile room. And
I
ended
love
up,
it.
yeah, I was able to have a couple species down there, but it wasn't for what I wanted to do. It wasn't really enough space, but I made the most of what I could. But yeah, definitely, it was it was in a small neighborhood, HOA, all that. Nobody knew that. Yeah, in the basement of there were a couple large lizards.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got the water monitor and the Nile monitor from you.
Yep, yep,
So
yeah.
future wise with you, what do you plan on doing in the future with your animals? Do you just want to be a hobbyist? Do you want to breed some, spread that
Yeah, I think
passion?
right now my daughter keeps asking, what can we breed? What can we breed? And I don't want to get anything that already has a saturated market. It's like it'd be fun to breed tegus and leopard geckos. Oh, I forgot leopard gecko. My daughter has a leopard gecko. But I thought it would be really fun. Like the Ackies, I'd love to breed those two. I would love to get a male black throat and breed that. And I just, for whatever reason, caiman lizards really catch my attention, and I'm not aware of anybody that's breeding those in captivity yet. So that would definitely be a dream as well. But like I was discussing with you earlier, I'm also trying to kind of find my own ways of building cages and how I'm handling socialization. Like I was mentioning before we started, all of my large lizards I've had since they were near hatchlings, and all of them from when they were little, I gave them complex, very natural habitats. I allowed them to hide as much as they want. I put food out there. They come out at night and get it. And all of them, after it usually takes 2, 3 years, but all of them hit that point where they're okay with me. All of a sudden, they're okay with me holding them, feeding them by hand, no problems. So I want to kind of continue that with a few different species now and see if that really is a um, uh, did I just get lucky with a couple of them, or is that actually something that could potentially work in a new way of raising these things in low stress, give them a chance to get nice and big, and then start handling them?
That's really cool. You're into animal behavior. I really love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. What are other little tips and tricks you do with the animal behavior?
So, in general, I'll start with like enclosures. That's probably the thing I've learned the most from. Uh, don't overdo it with the enclosures as far as like trying to make it look fancy and all this. And as long as it's basic and it can do what it needs to do, don't worry about it. They're going to rip up any plants you put in there, any logs you put in there. It's going to get destroyed. So don't get too concerned about that type of stuff. I would say, in my experiences, I'm discovering humidity is probably just as important as temperature. I think people often forget how important humidity is, especially with like tegus and monitors and stuff. So you really have to come up with an enclosure that can hold in humidity. And that doesn't mean just spray it once a day, because that usually is going to evaporate pretty quick. So the newest style I've learned is I was trying to build everything out of wood and trying to waterproof the wood, and it always ends up leaking and swelling. And Amazon sells pretty cheap pond liners, and so I've been using those lately. I've just lined the first foot or foot and a half, fill it up with dirt and peat moss, and then just keep it saturated all the time. And I've noticed a huge different behaviors. The animals are able to dig a lot better. They create tunnels in it because it holds its structure. And that's probably the biggest thing I've learned, is just really keeping that humidity up. And it's amazing how, when on a hot day, they dig down deep to get out of the heat. On a cold day, they're up on top to get more heat. So their behavior definitely dictates how they interact with the environment.
I love how you're like a do-it-yourself kind of guy. That's amazing. From the cages to the food to the. So I remember when I was over there, your substrate you use, you get it essentially from like your backyard.
Yeah, so we've got I have a couple of areas where there's lots of sand, well, obviously just regular dirt, and then I'll mix in, like I said, that peat moss works really well. But yeah, for like the Adkeys, which are more desert species, they've got mostly sand. I still water them pretty heavily, and again, I noticed they dig down. The research I did is, yes, they live in the desert, but when you, even in the desert, when you get a foot or two below the sand, there's still pretty high humidity because that's where the water holds. Um,
Microplankton.
yeah, yes, exactly. So Yeah, just lots of research, lots of YouTube watching on how other guys are making cages, and just trying to take everything I learned, combine it, and make it my own.
That's amazing. And what's your style of cages? Like if people walk into your facility, what are your style of cages?
So right now you can see two different styles. You're going to see the big cages are all made out of plywood, covered in dry lock. That was kind of my old style. With the newer ones, I'm actually using a much thinner wood. I forget what they call it at Home Depot. It's very thin and it's kind of finished on one side, so it's kind of glossy. And then the bottoms of them are where I'm doing that pond liner, and that's where I have more plywood to hold all the weight and everything. But really, those sidewalls, they're not holding the heat, they're not holding wet dirt, they're not getting sprayed that much, so they don't really need to be, half-inch plywood covered in um, the Loctite anymore, Loctite anymore. So that they seem to be doing well. I put in a bunch of plants in there, especially the Pathos with that super saturated dirt really grows like a weed in there. It's cool how quickly it takes over.
Huh. That's awesome. And I know with your cages too, you do really deep substrate. And I know the deeper the substrate, the more humidity you'll have, essentially.
Yep. Yep. And again, it's totally what you would think would happen. The two tegus that you gave me, the male and the female, they probably have close to 2 feet of dirt in there. On the super hot days, they're way down in there. On the cooler days, they're up basking at the heat lamps.
I remember
So
last time I came there, I tried to put my hand down the hole and I couldn't even find them. I
yeah,
couldn't reach
every
far
now and
back
then I have
enough.
to like shine a flashlight to make sure they're okay. And they're down there.
You still alive? How is it during wintertime? I'm sure you don't see them for a
They
while.
generally they still pop out once in a while. If I'm in there making noise, I'll see a head pop up and just kind of a ton flick, and then they'll go back in just see what's up.
That's so crazy. That's awesome. Heck yeah, Adam. That's so cool. All right, we're ending up on 30 minutes here. Is there anything you want to tell people as an enthusiast? Any
Yeah,
advice
I
or
would, like I
information?
said, if you're getting into it, or even if you're like going from beginner to intermediate, like I was saying with my kids, really, really research. Is this an animal I want? Is this something I want to spend a lot of money on? Do I have the room for it? Can I afford to feed it? And, can I take care of this thing for the next 10 to 20 years? That's probably a pretty common issue in the hobby. And it's sad, when you see people, how often do you, when you search Craigslist or whatever, and somebody's selling their Nile monitor that they bought online, and it's 3 feet long and it's in a 50 gallon breeder tank in somebody's apartment, and I'll have to sell it because I don't have more room for it. I was like, well, what do you think was going to happen? So that's kind of my big thing is like, if you really like monitors, there's plenty of really cool smaller species. The Ackies didn't think I was going to be a huge fan of them. They're some of my favorites now. They're super interactive. But just do tons and tons of research. That's probably my biggest suggestion.
Awesome. And now, as a fish and wildlife officer, what professional advice do you have for the public?
Follow the rules. Generally, Oregon. I mean, if you're going to pet shops, if you're going to the reptile shows and stuff, you're not going to run into any illegal animals. If you have to go out of your way to find something illegal, either on the internet or by asking around for certain species. So you should be just fine going to any pet shop or any reptile show and picking stuff up. I've never in all my years walking around like reptile shows have I ever seen anything that was illegal to have.
That's awesome. And speaking of reptile shows, are you going to any recently or have you gone to any?
We Gosh, it's probably been about a year. Like I said, we've got a 2-year-old now, so he eats up a lot of our time. So as he's getting a little easier to travel with, we'll definitely start doing more of them. But yeah, we usually went out to the one that was in either Albany or Hillsboro. I think those are Pacific Northwest reptile
Yeah.
shows.
Hmm.
We went to one a couple of years ago, and the kids love it. And it's kind of cool because there's a lot of stuff other than reptiles there. My kids were really into rocks and fossils, and they always have stuff like that there. So yeah, they definitely love going to those.
Yeah, I don't know if you know who Grandma Rose is, but I got her to come to the Eugene Show Me Reptile show. Have you been
Okay,
out there to Grandma Rose's petting zoo?
is that the one in Prineville?
Yes.
No, it's on our list. We definitely want to check that out.
Oh
I
my
think she's
gosh,
got kangaroos and stuff, doesn't she?
I try to go every
Yeah.
time I go, and I just went like a few weekends ago. And she just got a brand new zebra. I've worked with a few zebras. This one's so nice. You could just pet it, and it's like
Huh.
a calm horse. I was
Yeah,
like,
because I
that's
heard zebras are
crazy.
usually kind of butt heads.
They're
Yeah,
insane,
we're
and
gonna
it's
check
just
that
so
out. You gotta let
nice.
me know next time you go, and we'll tag along.
Heck yeah, yeah. And she has a bunch of porcupines. I think she just got her skunk, and she has her USD license, so she has a bunch of stuff, and she's getting a
Oh,
lot more
super
stuff
cool.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I definitely want to check that out.
it's super cool. Okay, so yeah, let's wrap it up here because I'm gonna have you on some future shows as well, so I don't want to give everything away.
Cool.
And yeah, all right. Well, thanks for your time, Adam, and I appreciate you and everything you do, especially for the animals. And you're awesome.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, you're welcome. I'll see you later, and I'll talk to you backstage.
Sounds good.